I'm going to start with some history. For millennia, with few exceptions, the world was marked by despotism, slavery, hierarchy, rigid class privilege, and literally no increase in the standard of living over hundreds of years. And then the Western world experienced the Enlightenment, a new perspective on the world based on reason, science, and belief in progress, and freedom. And the ideas about freedom eventually came to be known as liberalism. Human rights, markets, property rights, religious toleration, the value of commerce, the dignity of the individual, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, peace, human flourishing. And that brought about what Deirdre McCloskey calls the great fact of human history, the enormous and unprecedented growth in living standards starting around 1800 in the Western world. And these ideas spread to more aspects of society and more parts of the world, and they gave Europe a century of peace and progress, roughly 1815 to 1914, peace in Europe. The great fact spread from northwestern Europe and America to the rest of Europe, to Latin America, to parts of Asia. Liberal ideas were never perfectly realized. When they faded in the late 19th century, we got World War I, trade war, the Great Depression, and World War II, and some countries endured the horrors of communism and National Socialism. Mercantilism, cronyism, bigotry and discrimination, political murders, authoritarianism plagued and still plague parts of the world. And even in our own country, in my own lifetime. And the interesting thing is, most of these things are no longer true in your lifetime. But in my country, in my lifetime, we lived with military conscription, 90% marginal income tax rates, wage and price controls, restricted entry to transportation and communications, indecency laws, and Jim Crow. It's a lot of change. Progress has been happening. After World War II, a renewed commitment to free trade, international rule of law, and constitutional liberal democracy brought about another long period of great power, peace, and prosperity. And the spread of property rights and market institutions to China, India, Latin America, and even Africa has brought more than 1 billion people out of extreme poverty in just 25 years. More and more of the world is respecting equal rights for people regardless of color, gender, religion, sexuality, or language. Equal rights based on our common humanity. And it was our liberal ideas that brought that about, and we should take pride in that. Of course, now we're more likely to call those liberal ideas libertarian, but our job is not done. We face the rise of illiberalism on both left and right in the United States and around the world, with threats to liberty, democracy, trade, growth, and peace. And so it remains to us to defend the constitutional order of our republic, to remind people over and over of the wonders that America has produced, how rare freedom and abundance have been in the world, and the rules that are essential to their continuance. You learn, there was a book some years ago called Everything I Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Well, everything you need to know about politics, in a way, you learn in kindergarten. The fundamentals of freedom, the fundamentals of civilization. Don't hit other people, don't take their stuff, and keep your promises. If you apply those rules, you'll have a prosperous and peaceful society. And one more idea you wouldn't think needed to be said. We libertarians, most of us Americans, are liberals. Liberalism is a universal creed. We believe that all people are endowed with inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not just some people. And that idea is incompatible with political ideas based on blood and soil or treating people differently because of race or religion. And so when you see self-proclaimed freedom advocates talking about blood and soil, or helping a would-be autocrat overturn an election, or talking about LGBT equality as degeneracy, or saying we shouldn't care about government racism against black people, or defending the Confederacy and the cause of the South, or joining right-wing culture wars and supporting politicians who want to use the state to fight their enemies, or posting Holocaust jokes and death threats on Twitter, recognize that for what it is. Speak up, fight back, tell people that's not America, and it's certainly not libertarianism.